All right, so obviously in this workshop, as promised, we're going to talk about how to confidently plan and execute your next release without feeling overwhelmed or without regretting missed opportunities. Those are the things that I have heard from artists the most about. Either they just have trouble even ever releasing because they're so overwhelmed by the process, or they release without thinking about all the opportunities that they could miss, beforehand. And so they don't do their planning and they just release. And then they're like, I should have done this. I should have done this. So that is what I want to prepare you guys for. And that's what I've heard has been the most difficult part of releasing an album or EP. So if you don't know me, I'm Bree. You can always get in touch with me at bree@femmusician.com. That's my direct email address. I do have someone checking that, but they make sure that I get emails that are directly for me. So I will answer you if you write to me. So if you have any questions that come up that I am not able to answer, or you're watching this later, feel free to email me at that address. Okay, so let's talk about who this workshop is for. Now, I tried to make this pretty clear in the emails, and I know Chris and I, we talked on the podcast, so I'm guessing you're here because you absolutely belong here, but I just want to make sure that this really, really fits where you're at. So you're in the right place if you are planning to release an album or an EP or even a single in the next 2 years. You will definitely learn something that will be helpful. And I just realized I really would like to turn off my video, so I'm going to do that because I get distracted by looking at myself in the video. So let me do that first. If I can figure out how from here. Oh, I think I can do it up here. Let me do that. And then the video gets in my way of the slides. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to move this video off the top here so it's not in my way. There we go. Okay, housekeeping. All right, so if you're planning to release anything in the next 2 years, you're also in the right place if in the past you've put a ton of time and money into a past release and you didn't generate the buzz or the income that you expected. You're also in the right place if in the past you've invested a lot of money creating an album or an EP and then you didn't really know what to do to capitalize on that, and so it fell flat. You're also in the right place if in the past you've hired PR agents, radio promoters, and playlist pluggers for big bucks, but the results didn't match the expense. And you're also in the right place if you have never released anything before and you want to make sure to do it right the first time. That is what this framework and this workshop will help you with. So if any of those are you, then you are in the right place. Just to let you know, we do have a really cool bonus for action takers at the end. It's my new profitable live streaming course, and it's very timely, of course, for what we're dealing with right now, being home with COVID-19 and needing to shift some of our income streams. So for those of you that are action takers at the end, you will get access to this bonus. Okay, so what were we going to learn today? We are going to learn the 3 big mistakes that you've probably made when releasing new music and how to fix them. We're going to learn the 1 component you must have when planning your release to ensure that you don't miss out on crucial promotional and income opportunities. And you're going to learn how to use my foolproof Rock Your Next Release framework to make a big splash with your next release without feeling overwhelmed. So I like to start off my workshops with a fun contest. So I want you to imagine that there is a contest where if you win this contest, you win this blank check that pays for your entire project. So your entire album or EP, whatever you're putting out, if you win this contest, you get a blank check and it is paid for. So what this contest is that the person that wins, the way that they win is that they generate the most buzz and income from their next release. And I like to combine those because, fans are assets in my mind. So if you build your fan base through the process of your release, as well as making some income, then you have really, really done well, because those fans are now in your world. They're going to support you on further releases. You know, they're going to do lots of things in your world after that. So I see fans as an asset. So I'm saying whoever generates the best combination of increasing their fan base and making income from their release, they will win this blank check. So we have 2 contestants. Our first contestant is Olivia. So Olivia gets right to work on recording because she absolutely loves the recording part. But she does not take time to budget, to plan out her promotions or anything. Because she loves the recording and the creative part, she, just gets right into that, but she's totally overwhelmed by the rest of it, so she kind of ignores it. She emerges from the studio with a masterpiece, but of course it's way over budget. And then she's 2 weeks out from her release and she realizes, oh my gosh, I haven't planned anything. I don't know how I'm going to market this. And not only that, but I don't have any dollars for marketing either because I spent it all on my recording. So that's Olivia. Then our next contestant is Brooke. So Brooke decides to map out the big picture 12 months before her release even happens. She creates a budget and she figures out how she's going to cover the recording, the promotion, and what kind of income she's going to bring in. She maps out a timeline of when everything needs to be done so she doesn't miss out on any crucial steps along the way. And even though she's not as excited or as comfortable with the promotional piece of it, she embraces it anyway, and she figures out how she's going to do it. She maps it out, and she knows when she needs to bring in help along the way. So who do you think is going to win this contest? Is it going to be Olivia, who I like to call Overwhelmed Olivia, or is it going to be Brooke? So I like to say that I help the Olivias of the world, the overwhelmed Olivias, become the Brookes of the world. So a little bit of background on me. I know some of you know me and some of you don't, so I want to give you a little background, but this really relates to why I help artists with releases. So I started out, I got really obsessed with music in high school. I joined every choir there was, and I was in this madrigal choir here. There's me with my 80s hair in the middle. And then when I went to college, I joined a group that performed all over California and some of the other Western states on tours. We toured on the weekends. We recorded 3 albums when I was in with the group. And it was a really, really fun experience. I got to record in a studio in Santa Barbara where people like Kenny Loggins and the Beach Boys had recorded. And so I totally got the bug for recording. And I'm like, after the school's over, I am going to be a recording artist. I'm just so excited about it. But of course, school did not really train me on how to do any of this stuff. They taught me how to be a great musician. But other than that, no clue. So when I left school, I was just trying everything I could, looking at classifieds in the recycler, trying to find other bands because I thought they knew better than I did how to do all this stuff. I was in several different bands. All of them basically ended in disaster. And this was one of the bands that I was in. And, I thought that the person who was running this band knew what she was doing because she had this whole marketing plan, but it really wasn't a plan. It was more about branding. She was all into the branding, and, she just thought if we got everything perfect, then all we'd have to do is release this CD and everyone would see how amazing we were. They'd be attracted to our brand and they would just flock. Well, basically her marketing plan was thrust a box of CDs on all the band members and force us to sell them to our relatives. And that was the extent of the plan. So of course that did not end well. As soon as the album came out and it didn't happen the way she thought it would, the band completely disintegrated and it was not a pretty sight. So that was my experience. And I thought, gosh, like I thought these people knew better than I did, and I was wrong. So maybe I just can't figure out how to do this. Maybe I should just give up, because like I don't feel like I know anything, and obviously other people don't know anything either. So how do I even go about this? But I just felt like I had this God-given talent. I had it in my bones that I needed to release music. I loved writing music. I felt like I had a message. And so, what I really wanted was to share my talent and songs with the world. I wanted to share my story and my message and inspire people with my songs. And I wanted to build a fan base that loves my music and supports my career. And of course, I also wanted to recoup the money that I invested to record my album, because I watched what happened with that band. And, because she was running it, she outlaid all the money. And so she probably owed thousands of dollars on that because she had no marketing plan. So I didn't want that to happen to me. So I finally said, you know what? Like, these people don't know better than I do. And here I am, somebody that has a double degree in music and business, by the way. And somehow when I decided to focus on my music, I left all the business stuff behind. And so I thought, well, I understand entrepreneurship, I understand business. How can I marry the two? And how can I inject this into the process of releasing an album? And so in 2006, I released my first album, and I just started applying the principles of even like a local business to how I would do it. So I realized that being a musician, I also had to be an entrepreneur. And that was an important time for me. So what I did was I financed my own album, and I had physical CDs and digital distribution. I booked my own tours. I did my own PR, and I set up my own release parties. And when I went ahead and made that leap, what happened was I sold out of my first 1,000 CDs. I booked mini tours all over California, and I was able to be featured in magazines and the cover of 2 sections of the Orange County Register. I also, on my Christmas album, was able to break even on the project during my pre-order campaign. So by the time I put out the album, it was already paid for, and that was exciting. So throughout, along my journey in 2007, I founded Women of Substance Radio. And I did that because I had met so many amazing female artists, and I wanted to help give them a platform. And when I was doing that, I met so many other people that felt like I did, that were totally clueless about the process. I met a lot of overwhelmed Olivias, like hundreds and thousands of them along the way since I've been working in Women of Substance. And they had amazing music, but they would come to me with so many questions, and they would say, well, I just don't know how to do this. I'm just going to wait for somebody for a label or a manager to like pick me up, and then they're going to handle all of this. And the whole time I'm thinking, the world is missing out on their music. Why am I the only one playing their music? Nobody knows about them, and their releases are falling flat. So that is when I developed my Rock Your Next Release framework, because I wanted to help them be able to do what I was able to do with my releases. And I mean, my releases are not like worldwide smashes, right? But I felt that they were very successful because they built my fan base, and I was able to make income on every single one of them. So now let's talk about when I was developing this framework, I realized that I saw artists making 3 big mistakes when releasing their new music. The first mistake is that artists are thinking that fan base building happens after the release instead of during, just like what happened with my Not Martha experience with that one band. Like, that was what she thought, and boy was she wrong. But there is a reason that you think that. It's because the old non-digital release model was set up such that the album or the EP was released at the beginning, and then they started promoting, right? So they'd release the album or EP and then they would start doing the promotion. But in the current new music industry, your release offers a season of promotional opportunities. So there you can have more like a journey to the full release. And you can release several singles along the way, as I'll show you in this framework, and use them as promotional opportunities to build momentum to your big release. So in the old model, it was relied on radio to promote singles and to drive sales of the album or EP after the release. So they'd release the album and then they'd release a single. So they released the album or EP and then they'd release this single, and some people would like that one. And then they would release another single, and some people would like that one. And then maybe by that point they'd be like, okay, I like 2 of those singles. Maybe I'll go buy the album. And then they'd release another single, and then some people would like that song, and then maybe they would buy the album. That was how it worked. But in the new streaming model, singles can attract new fans and create anticipation. So you can do things like every time that you release a single, you can try to get on an editorial playlist at Spotify. You can try to get other playlists, curators to put it on their playlist and be able to reach new people with each new single that you release. And then that can lead up to your big album or EP release. Also, in the social media era, singles can be used as marketing vehicles, and you can create like videos around them, and you can even use ads to amplify that. You can also get some PR blogs and podcasts to focus on your singles and drive people to follow you on Spotify, and then Spotify will, serve them your next release. So it's this great machine that keeps feeding itself and then continuing to feed itself. And in the new streaming model, singles can build momentum for physical pre-orders. So if you release some singles and then people are like, oh, I really like these, I might actually want to buy this album, that allows them to get a taste and get excited about when you actually put out the album and then pre-order it. So in this model, it looks like this. You release a single and then some people like it. And then they probably follow you and you get some streams from it. And then you release another single and then more people will find and like that. But also the people that liked the first one are now exposed to the new one because it's sticky, right? They have followed you. They have followed you on social, or they followed you on Spotify, or they've joined your email list. And so then it just it magnifies, right? It's going to be almost exponential. You just keep adding to the group versus the other version where there's no stickiness. Like the radio model, there's no stickiness at all. So I am so thankful for things like Spotify and email lists and social media, because it allows that stickiness. They can stay connected to you. Okay, so let's talk about mistake number 2. Mistake number 2 is focusing on only one aspect of the release strategy at a time. So I can see why this happens, because in the old model, labels are in charge, right? And so with a label, they have a big whole group of departments that handle all of this stuff. They've got a marketing department, they've got a booking department, they've got a production department, they've got a distribution department. They've got it all covered, right? But when you are a DIY musician, you are serving all those label functions. You're wearing all those hats, and you must juggle multiple balls in the air at the same time. And so if you don't, then you'll miss out on crucial opportunities along the way. But, you know, you're basically filling the role of all these different departments that were in a label. So, you know, here's a visual, right? These are all the balls that you're trying to juggle in the air as a DIY artist. You've got to keep in mind the big picture. You've got to handle the recording stuff. You've got to figure out your branding and distribution. You've got to keep up on Spotify and see if you can get your song on playlists. You've got to, you know, figure out all the marketing and keep up with all of it. Make sure all the assets are there when you need them. Then you've got to make sure to book. You got to, you know, for your any, you know, performances that you're going to do after it's out. And then you got to, you know, keep up on monetizing opportunities and release parties. So that's a lot of stuff, right? But there are several potential missed opportunities if you drop those balls along the way. So the first one that I see happening all the time is that the asset gathering for marketing really needs to be done while you're in the studio. And as artists, we love the studio, right? At least most of us. I love the studio. And I love the experience of recording. I love to be immersed in it. It is like my jam. But when I'm in it, I'm not thinking about, boy, I should be taking pictures. I should be taking video. You know, I should be doing all this stuff to create assets for the future that I can use. And so if you haven't thought about that, then you emerge from the studio with this amazing recording, but no documentation whatsoever of what happened. And so you can write stories about the studio, but that's not the same. Having the images and stuff is really powerful in your marketing. So you need to be thinking about marketing as early as when you're in the studio. Another potential missed opportunity is that you don't submit to be considered for Spotify editorial playlists. So this is something that has to be done in the process. You cannot go back in time and do it. If you don't submit to Spotify editorial playlists before your singles or album get released, you don't get that opportunity again. So this is one of those things that you absolutely have to keep on top of. Missed opportunity number 3 is using singles as promotional vehicles, as I talked about. If you just release your entire album or EP at once, which I see so many artists doing, like, I just want to get it out into the world, but then you miss the opportunity of using singles to build up momentum. And the way Spotify works is you can't go back and release things as singles after they've already been released on an album. Each song has its own identity, like a number on Spotify, and they will know if you try to release it again. So they don't want duplicates. Another missed opportunity is building a tour around your album or EP. Now I realize right now we can't tour, but I believe touring will be back by the fall. And that's why this is a perfect time to be thinking about this, because when you're in the middle of this process, you need to be booking out this stuff way before your release, because as you know, booking takes a while. You've got to get on their radar. You've got to follow up. They've got to have a spot for you. You know, usually you're booking 3 to 6 months out to get into good venues. So this is not something that can be an afterthought. Missed opportunity number 5 is raising money throughout the release process. So there are ways that you can get money along the way. I recommend a small crowdfunding campaign because some people like to do that. Not some big overwhelming one, but just, you know, pick up those pennies along the path to your release. Doing a pre-order campaign is one of those ways. Getting sponsors is one of those ways. And those are all things that you can't drop the ball on that because you can't go back in time. Potential missed opportunity number 6 is physical CD and merch sales. So I see a lot of people just releasing digitally. And I recently did a post in my group to find out, are people still really buying CDs? Because I had my opinions on it, but I wanted to hear this from the artists that are out in the world. And they're like, absolutely they are. I still make a ton of money off of CDs. So don't forget to do that. And you know, make sure that you've got some really cool merch that you can sell. People want to support you, but everyone wants to support you in a different way, and you've got to offer them those opportunities. And then missed opportunity number 7 is the digital side. So other artists that I work with just release a physical CD, and they're like, the digital stuff is so complicated, I don't know how it all works, so they just don't do it. And so then they're missing out on so many opportunities, especially when it comes to Spotify, for them to, deliver your new music to the fans that follow you and get on playlists and things. So these are all really important opportunities you don't want to miss. And then mistake number 3, not creating a timeline-based plan for the season of releases. So you don't want to try to keep up with multiple project timelines. All those 8 balls that I was showing you that have to be in the air, they all have different timelines, right? What you really need is a one all-inclusive 15-month plan. So imagine if you had on your arm 8 different watches and they were all in different time zones. So how in the world would you ever know what time it is, right? You would just be so confused all the time, and you'd be trying to keep up with 8 different things. What you need is one timeline to rule them all, one like universal clock that tells you what needs to be done when. Otherwise, you're almost guaranteed to drop some of those balls. So an all-inclusive timeline-based plan, it guarantees that you don't miss out on those opportunities and have all that regret that we talked about. It also allows you to confidently outsource and delegate, because maybe you don't feel comfortable doing some of these things, but you can bring people on when you need them. And then it helps you stay organized and sane, because that is so important during this process, right? It's an overwhelming process. So it allows you to check things off of a list, which I love. I don't know about you guys, but I love checking things off of a list. It's my favorite because I just love, give me the step-by-step, check, check, check. Okay, I feel good. I am on task. I am on track. So here are the 8 focus areas within the Rock Your Next Release framework. So of course we start out with the planning. That's the big picture. And then under the product, we've got the recording part and we've got the distribution and branding part. Under the promotion side, we've got a lot of things. We've got marketing, Spotify playlists, release parties, and touring. And then of course, the profit. How are we going to make money from this? So I'm going to take you through these 8 focus areas and give you an idea of how I see the timeline for each of these. Now, as I said, these are 8 different watches, right? Trying to keep up with all 8 is a little crazy. So I wanted to give you an idea of what they look like. So the plan, it's pretty simple, but it's so important. It's really a 12-month timeline. You start planning 12 months before your release. You create a big picture initial plan with your strategy for marketing, your budgeting for how much you think everything's going to cost and what kind of money might come in, the personnel that you might need, and you need to book your studio to make sure that you can get in with the producer in the studio that you want. And then I suggest 5 months before your release, you go back and you relook at your budget, because things have happened at this point. You have finished your recording and you're going to know, did I go over budget? Was I able to keep it in budget? And then if you chose to do a crowdfunding campaign, which I totally recommend, you'll know if any money came in from that, so you can reorient your budget. So I want to introduce you to my friend Camille. So she says that she decided to move her release date back so that she could use this system to do it right. She was going to release now. She was going to release in May. And she just decided to change it because she saw that she was going to miss so many opportunities. So she says, I especially love the monthly checklists, spreadsheets, and other administrative helps to keep my brain from going in circles. I am confident that this will be my best release ever. So that is planning. Let's talk about your product. So there are two areas of product. As I said, there's the recording part, which I know like you guys got this, right? And especially with Chris in your corner, like you have got the recording side, whether you're recording it at home with your own equipment, or if you're going to a studio, you feel pretty confident in this area. But so you need to think about more about like the deadlines that you need, right? You know, you've got to choose your songs. You've got to figure out your producer and studio, whether you're going to do it at home, mapping out alternative mixes, if that's something that you want to do, which I think is really a useful thing for marketing wise. You have to figure out your contracts, your work for hires, and your mechanical licenses if you're using anyone else's songs. And then, you know, really your drop dead deadline to get all this recorded stuff mastered and mixed and in your hand is 4 months before you're releasing it, because I'm going to show you that my strategy involves releasing singles. So you really need all these mixes done by then. And then you've got to figure out your branding and distribution. And that's an 8-month timeline that really starts with figuring out what your branding is going to look like. Are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to hire a designer? You know, what's your theme going to be? What's your art going to be? How are you going to, you know, have your main branding for your EP album, and then how is that going to translate into your singles? Do you need to do a new photo shoot for that? And then make all your final decisions on the branding and update that all over the place. And then, you know, you're going to want to figure out who you're going to use for your distribution for your music, whether it's, you know, the big three, it's maybe CD Baby, TuneCore, or DistroKid, or someone else. You know, setting up and ordering your physical duplication. And in order to do that, you really need your drop dead deadline, like I said, to be 4 months out, so you have all your recordings so you can get it to the CD manufacturers. And then your drop dead deadline for the CD is 3 weeks before your release party, because you don't want to be like biting your nails. Oh my gosh, is it gonna be here in time? So I want to introduce you to Athena. Athena said, I sure wish I was taking your class a year ago, but because she was in the midst of her release process when I introduced her to this framework. But she said, even then it is rocking and it's helping me so much. It feels like lesson by lesson, you are demystifying this huge, overwhelming process. Thank you. Okay, so the next area is promotion, and this is the biggest one. This has 4 things that are involved. So focus area number 4 is marketing, and there is a lot involved here. And it's, like I said, it really starts when you're in the studio, capturing your marketing assets. And you need to do a lot of research for your marketing. You're going to need to research PR outlets, radio stations, and you're going to need to really figure out what your PR campaigns are going to look like for each of your singles and then the full release. You're going to want to plan a 7-month content calendar for email and social media, so you can really take advantage of all the things that are happening along this journey to your full release and getting the word out on social media and on to your email list. And then you want to create some video assets to get your story out there around your singles. I think this is the best way to use singles to promote, is to have singles that really work well with like a story that goes along with them. You're going to need write your press release for your PR. And then once your singles come out, you're going to be going to PR and trying to get them to cover these songs. Also, I'm going to encourage you to plan a video that comes out after your release, like a few months after, to really continue the momentum and be able to market even more after the release is out. But in order to do that, you need to plan that in advance. You need to find somebody to help you with it and figure out what song you're going to do and get that all going while you're also in this process. So you're going to deploy all your content plans, your PR blitz, and all of that. And then you're going to want to send out CDs for and digital files for reviews once you get those from the studio. And of course, you're going to want to make a big deal around your release through email and social media. Maybe you run some contests, and then you're going to promote your video a few months afterward. And that's a lot, right? In just the marketing plan, if you really want to take advantage of your release. And I want to, have you really think about this. Like, it sounds like a lot, right? That might sound overwhelming, but think about how much money you're investing in this recording. Now, hopefully, you're using Chris's system and you're saving some money there, but think of all the time that you're putting into your recording and all of that. Like, it's a lot of work, right? You want to make sure that you capitalize as much as possible on this. So then there's Spotify playlists, and I separate this out because I think it really is something that is important enough that deserves like a special category, because you really need to focus on it. Each single offers the ability to submit to Spotify playlists editorially and to other curators. And you're going to want to look for people whose playlists really match the mood and the sound of the song that you're releasing. And you could really get some great new fans through playlists. So it's definitely worth focusing on. And then the next part is your release parties. So obviously right now we can't do a physical release party, but I believe no problem by fall we can do that. And people are going to be so excited to go to concerts and events. So, but it's something you need to plan out quite a bit in advance. You need to get that venue secured, whatever venue you're going to use. Now, I used my local church. So if you have access to something like that, that is awesome. But even at a church, like, you need to get on their calendar quite a bit in advance. So this cannot be an afterthought. This cannot be like 3 weeks out. You're like, maybe I should have a release party. You probably won't get any of what you want. You won't get your venue. You won't get the help that you need. And you certainly won't get the opportunity to approach sponsors, which I recommend that you do. And then you need time to promote it. You need to think about how you're going to promote it, and also to make sure that you've practiced. A lot of times, I just heard someone say the other day that, like, they did a concert and they spent so much money, so much time on marketing that they kind of forgot to practice. So you don't want to do that for your release party. You want to make sure it's a good show. And then I recommend that you can hold a virtual release party as well, because you have a lot of fans that aren't local and you want to be able to serve them and have another way to connect with them and get them to, maybe purchase online or at least follow you on Spotify. There's so many opportunities with release parties to make a big splash. And then finally, in the promotional category is the booking, right? Like I said, it takes a lot to book shows around a release as far as the timing. You have to make sure that they've got an opening when you want to do it, because you want to do these shows when it's fresh, right? It's exciting. Your album or EP is new. It's like a release tour or a release mini tour or a group of local shows that are all about your release. So you need to be following up all along the way. And you cannot drop that ball, even though you're busy with recording and you're busy with marketing on all that, or you won't have these shows. So I want to introduce you to my friend Sarah. Sarah says that she was in the marketing phase when she started using this framework, and she was so glad that she had it because it saved her from missing out on so many important opportunities. She says, I love Bree's well-ordered, easy to understand approach. And she says, if you follow the plan, you will be successful. So show me the money. The final one focus area is about profit. And like I said, there are a lot of ways that you can pick up pennies along the path to your release. And you need to make sure that you have really thought about these and that you have them planned out. Otherwise, they won't happen. Doing a crowdfunding campaign, it can fit well into this process. And it is something that would only be 30 days. And the reason I recommend it is some people just love to give to a crowdfunding campaign. Some people love to buy merch. Some people love to buy CDs. People like to support you in different ways, and you want to give them the opportunity to do that. This is not a high stress, high pressure, like all or nothing crowdfunding campaign. So I recommend you do that. I also recommend that, like I said earlier, that you find sponsors that can sponsor either your album or your release party for sure. There's tons of ways people can sponsor your release party. And then you want to make sure that you really get some cool merch, especially if you've spent a lot of time thinking and creating your brand for your album or EP. You want to really capitalize on that and create some awesome merch that your people will love and be able to sell them in bundles and at all your shows and your release party. So that is the 8 focus areas. Those are the 8 balls that you need to have in the air to have a really successful release. So if you take anything away from this training, I want you to know that you can confidently plan and execute your next release without feeling overwhelmed or regretting missed opportunities. So the question is, are you going to be overwhelmed, Olivia, or are you gonna be Brooke? And it was funny in the chat one time I saw someone say like, oh, does that mean that just all we need to do is wear a hat and we'll be successful? I'm like, no. You have to do all the things that Brooke did. You have to plan. You have to make sure that you are on top of all of the different 8 areas. So the big question is, how can you apply the Rock Your Next Release framework so you can avoid dropping the ball on anything in the 8 different focus areas without feeling overwhelmed? It is time for you to make a big splash with your next release and not look back after it's over with regret about missed promo and income opportunities. And it is time to follow a 15-month timeline-based blueprint that takes the guesswork out of releasing your next album or EP. So if you are ready to follow the Rock Your Next Release framework, I want to let you know that Rock Your Next Release program is open for enrollment. And this features my Rock Your Next Release framework. So let me tell you a little bit about what is in this program. So inside, you will find a complete 15-month timeline-based blueprint integrating every single step in the 8 focus areas. So that's the one timeline to rule them all that I talked about. No more of these like 8 different watches trying to keep up with 8 different things at a time. This is one timeline. Now, let me be clear. This is a blueprint that covers 15 months. It is not a 15-month course. That would be a really long course. What it is it gives you all the training that you need to be able to execute this 15-month blueprint, but it will not take you 15 months to go through it. You can probably go through all the material in like a few weeks, and then this blueprint is there to help you along the way. It is very, very step by step, and then you've got the training to go back to. So I always recommend to people that they go through the whole thing and really understand the big picture of the framework, and then they go back and they start executing step by step, and then they're like, maybe they get to the press release and like, oh, now what did they say about writing the press release? And you go back and you watch that video. So it is to give you the full understanding of the process and then to be, hold your hand along the way. So it includes video-based training taught by myself and also some select industry experts for each step. So we have got some amazing experts in these different areas. So if I am not an expert in that area, I brought someone in that is. So for example, branding, that is not my thing. But I brought in my friend Greg Wilnaugh, who is an expert in branding. His course is called Music Brand, and he gives you all the training that you need to figure out how your brand will look, how you can have brands and sub-brands with your singles, and really decide whether you're going to do the branding DIY. If you want to do that, he gives you the training on how to do that. So, for example, Spotify playlists, right? I understand a lot about it, but I'm not an expert. So I brought in my friend Mike Warner, who is an expert on that. He works for Chartmetric. He has a book called Work Hard, Playlist Hard, and he knows everything ins and outs of Spotify. So I brought him in for a whole bunch of training on Spotify. And I know from my experience with people that I work with, that is something that is confusing to a lot of people. So I wanted to make sure you guys were totally on point with that. PR, like I know a lot about it, but I don't know a lot about the PR industry. So I brought someone in who really knows that industry, my friend Angela Mastrogiacomo from Muddy Paw PR. She talks about press releases and how to approach blogs and podcasts and get on their radar. So anywhere that I felt really needed amplifying beyond my expertise, I brought people in to help you. I have my personal booking coach, Tara, who talks about release parties, even though I have experience on that as well, which I've put in there. So there is a lot of really great expert help in here. Also, we have got checklists for every single month. So this is where I'm saying you've got this blueprint, and then you've got the checklist to help you once you're in it. When you're in it, in the day to day, at the beginning of that month, you print out that checklist and you check it off as you do each thing. So you know that you're not missing something along the way. Also, we've got some awesome bonuses. So I've created a complete 7-month social media and email plan for you with suggested themes and post copy to support your complete season of releases. So when I say, like, this month we're focusing on this and you need to be doing this in your marketing, I provide you with the starters for all of your social media, for your email, that's all related to our, what we're doing at that time. So I don't know about you, but I hate looking at a blank page. So I love having templates and things to help me get started. And that is what this is for you. You never have to look at a blank page during this entire process. Second bonus that we have is budget spreadsheets to help you plan for your project and keep within your budget along the way. So it's a spreadsheet, but don't be intimidated by that, because I am also an accountant and I've set that up for you. So all you have to do is plug your numbers in and it calculates everything for you. So you are totally set. You don't even need to think about adding, subtracting, multiplying, any of that stuff. And then another great bonus we have is research and tracking sheets for PR, radio, and Spotify playlists. And again, like, I don't like looking at a blank anything. I love templates. And so that's why I created that for you, because if I have to create a system from scratch, I won't do it. But if I have a system already created for me, then I will follow it. And so I created this course for people like me that just want systems to follow. And so these are set up for you to help you do your research and track all these, PR leads, radio leads, Spotify playlist leads, and follow up with them. On the same way as we had that, we have got a complete tour booking system that goes from research and follow-up tracking to follow-up, and then, okay, we booked it. So again, like, if I have to create my own booking system, I won't do it and it will be a mess. But if I have a system that's right there and I just need to plug stuff in, I'm more likely to do it. And I think many of you are probably the same way. So that's why I created this. And then, of course, we have, as I mentioned earlier, for action takers on this workshop, we have our profitable live streaming course. So I'm excited about this. my Academy members went through this and they absolutely loved it. It helped them to get over any fear of live streaming, figure out how to do it and actually make money from it. And for this process, I think it's really important because you are going to want to use live stream in your marketing, when you're promoting new singles, when you're doing your release party, and just knowing how to do the ins and outs of it. Because let me tell you, people that I work with, they're very intimidated by the tech, and it doesn't have to be intimidating. We spell it all out and we make sure that you know how to actually make your live stream profitable. So here is the list of everything that we have. We have the Rock Your Next Release main training and blueprint. We have all of our guest experts. We have bonus number 1, which is the 7-month social media and email plan. Bonus number 2 is the complete booking follow-up system. Bonus number 3 are the spreadsheets and the templates that I talked about. And bonus number 4 is the live streaming course. And that all adds up to $4,982 in value. But of course, we are not going to charge you that whatsoever. The Rock Your Next Release course plus all these bonuses is only $497. And I know, as talking to a lot of artists, that you guys spend a lot around your release. Some people hire PR agents that cost like 10 times more than this. So this gives you everything that you need to be able to do everything yourself. And if you don't want to do it, then you hire like a virtual assistant or a local assistant, a college student or something, just to execute what's in this course for you. And that would be way cheaper than hiring a PR agent. You do not need a high-powered PR agent, especially if you're early on in your career. It's not a good investment. So anything that I see people spending a lot of money around releases on, what I would do is I would take this program and then I would just hire some assistants to help you execute it. And it would be a heck of a lot cheaper than spending big bucks on playlist pluggers and booking agents and PR agents and radio pluggers and all that stuff. So that's that is how you can really save money by using this course. And on top of that, I want to make sure that as many people can use this as possible. So I created a payment plan for you. It's only $179 per month for 3 months. So you can get in right now for $179. And the link below here is femmusician.com/release. That's F as in female, E as in entrepreneur, musician.com/release. I'm definitely going to get into questions in a minute. So if you have any questions about the program, about anything that's in there, about anything I talked about in my framework, I would love to answer your questions in a minute. But I just wanted to go through real quick. Remember Camille, how she decided to move her release date because she just really wanted to take advantage of all of the things that she learned with this framework. And remember Athena, who was just overwhelmed by the whole process, and this helped kick her overwhelm. And remember Sarah, who was doing the marketing and realized that she would have missed so many opportunities if she didn't have this framework. So I want to be able to feature you, sometime in a later workshop. I want you to be one of those people on one of those slides, on one of these slides. So if you are excited about your next release, but you're just not sure how to go about it, this program is absolutely for you, and it will help you. It will hold your hand throughout the whole process, and you'll never be at a point where you don't know what to do. femmusician.com/release. And Chris, if you could type that into the chat, that would be great. Just make sure that it goes out to everyone, because on a workshop I was on recently, I was typing it in the chat. They're like, I'm not seeing it. And then I realized that I was typing it to just like one person. So just make sure it says to everyone. So I had my assistant make a little video of kind of scrolling through all the curriculum here. So you can see like how much value is in here, how much work I put into this. And I just kept asking people, like, what else do you need? Any of the students in the course, what else do you need to make this exactly what you need to help you through this process, what will make it the most valuable. And so I just kept adding more and more things to it to make sure that they had everything that they need. And you will get lifetime access to this. So, you know, if you are going through it and you're like, oh, I really wish it had this, you know, I may be adding more to that. So you'll have lifetime access and to any updates that I do along the way. So that's the whole, you know, list of curriculum. You can also see it on the page there. You will see that is our teachable checkout page there. You could scroll down a little bit and you'll see also that video you could watch with the curriculum, and you can also scroll down and actually see the list of curriculum in there, the list of lessons. So as I said, we have that fast action bonus, which is that profitable live streaming course. So if you want to get that profitable live streaming course as well, and you already know you want to get this Rock Your Next Release course, just go ahead and invest now, because then you'll get it all. So I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes to give you guys a chance, for those of you that want that profitable live streaming course, to give you guys a chance to jump in and grab that. And just to let you know a little bit of what will happen when you go in there. So if you go to the page, you click on the join button or enroll button, and it will take you to a checkout page. If you have never bought a course from me before, then you'll need to create a password. You'll need to put in your email address and a password. If you have, if you're in our Teachable School already, if you've bought anything else from us in the past, just make sure that you log in with the login that you already have. And if it says like, oh, there's already, you know, there's already somebody in here with this email address, you may have to have it reset your password if you don't know what that is. So just wanted to let you know that that's kind of how Teachable works. Okay, wow, I'm losing my voice. I'm going to take a sip of water. Chris, are there any, I want to keep this up on the screen to make sure they can see, you know, when the timer is going out and that you can see the link. But do we have some questions I can answer?
Sure, let me jump into the Q&A over here.
Oh, I could feel my voice like getting scratchier and scratchier. So I'm grabbing my water.
So Amy says, is releasing albums still worthwhile?
I absolutely think it's worthwhile. That's why I did that post in my group to see if people are still selling albums, and they absolutely are. I also think that the ability to build up to the album release is definitely worthwhile, and you can still sell it. And even if you're not selling CDs on their own, they make a great piece to go in a bundle. So if you create a bundle, like, you know, some merch and the CD, people are going to be very excited to buy that, especially at a live show.
Absolutely. And actually, I want to just add on to that a little bit. I had my self-produced album when I would bring it to shows, and this was just part of my plan, is I would tell people at shows that my, you know, that I produced my record and that it was donation based. And also oftentimes I would get like a $20 donation for my record.
Wow.
We're just chomping at the bit to get this record from an indie artist, especially, you know, someone who had done all that work themselves. And so, like, I mean, I haven't been gigging in the last 6 months, but up until then, I was selling CDs and albums constantly, and my record only had 6 songs on it. So these major label, you know, artists are selling their songs for $1 a song, you know, on iTunes, and here I am selling the 6-song EP for $20, you know. So absolutely, I would say that the record is still a thing for sure. Amy says, she says, I would be releasing 9 to 10 singles and bundle it up as a hard copy for touring, etc. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me say that again.
Okay.
Would it be worth releasing 9 to 10 singles and bundle it up as a hard copy for touring, etc.?
You can do that. I kind of, you know, I looked at all of that when I created this framework, because I know some people are just releasing all singles, right?
Right.
But I kind of felt like releasing every single one as a single can burn your audience out a little bit. So I kind of felt like 3 singles and then the album is kind of a sweet spot. Now, if you want to, some people are like, well, can I release 4? Or can I release 2? Like you can use this framework however you want. I had to make a choice because I have to teach it in a particular way. I can't just go like, oh, whatever you want. I have to say, well, this is what I think is the best. But you guys can utilize it however you want. And you could choose to release all singles if you wanted to. But I think it becomes kind of a slog for you too. Like if you really want to promote each single, then it gets kind of tiring.
Mm-hmm.
And does every song really deserve to be a single? I mean, let's be honest. Maybe not.
And just because it doesn't deserve to be called a single doesn't mean it's not something in your heart that you still want to release.
Absolutely.
Right? So that goes on an album rather than, oh, well, I guess we're just doing singles now. It's like, no, this is part of a project, Love that. Okay, Lauren says, how long do you estimate it will take to get through the backlog of canceled music shows that are needing to reschedule for COVID? More than 8 months? I am considering waiting until at least March of next year for an album release as a beginning artist. What do you suggest?
I'm not sure that the backlog is going to work that way. I don't know if you have opinions on that, Chris, but like, I think some people just won't be able to, especially if there's like touring artists, they can't do that tour now. That tour is just canceled. So I think that they're not going to be like, okay, you were on my schedule, 3 months ago. Now I'm going to add you now. It might not work that way. It might just be like anyone that was on our schedule before, approach us again. We'll find you another date, but it won't be like in the order of how you had dates before. So I don't think it's going to block you out from being able to get gigs.
Cool. And she says she's considering it waiting until at least March of next year for an album release.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, that will give you almost the 12 months that I talked about to really be planning. Now, keep in mind, like if you're following Chris's core, Produce Like a Boss program and you're producing from home, you may not have to have quite a 12-month lead. Like some of that is built in because things are out of your control when it comes to a studio, right? You have to get it booked and you might have to wait and the producer is busy and then they get a backlog and you can't get your mixes done. You know what I mean? Like you have so much more control when you're doing it yourself that you may be able to cut this timeline down to more like 9 months.
I'm so glad you said that, Bree, because I was actually going to ask you, well, what if somebody's, isn't being held back by some of these restrictions? Can they alter this blueprint to fit into a time frame for them that's more custom?
Absolutely. And I think that you guys definitely have an advantage. The reason I created this the way it is because a lot of artists that I work with are going into the studio and I don't want them to be screwed over by other people's timelines. I want them to build in that buffer because no matter what they tell you, they always are behind.
Yeah, exactly. Lauren says, thank you. There was one thing that you said that I just wanted to reiterate because it really stuck out to me, but like this, I want to repeat this is not an afterthought. Yeah. That resonates with me so much because I was such an Olivia for so long. It was just like
hard to imagine you as an Olivia. You like seem super, organized and on top of things.
I was with the music side of it, but it was always.
We had this conversation on the podcast, like how the hat just went out the window of the business hat when you're in music.
Yeah. And I was putting all this creative energy and this, ambitious energy into the music and it's all about the music. It's all about the music. And then I turn around and it's like, I have a lot of artists coming to me now that are like, what do I do now that I've released? And I was like, well, this isn't an afterthought. This is something that needs to be happening like well ahead of time. So I just love what you've put together. And I love that there's a blueprint, that there's checklists and how organized it is, because at any time someone can be anywhere in the process and then come in and be like, oh, what was that thing about PR? Oh, it's right over here. And then just go refresh. Because yes, as you know, we don't really, until we implement things, they don't really stick. So it's like, maybe it's a lot to take in at first, but then as you go through, you just go right to where you need to be in that step of the process. And maybe that's customized for you because you are, getting stuff done quicker. Maybe you're the producer or a good friend of yours and your turnaround time is shorter. No problem. Customize this blueprint though, because it is everything you need. It's step by step.
Yeah. And you can. So what I provide, I have these checklists that are like PDFs for each month, but I also provide an entire project blueprint that's organized in an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh,
So you could go in and edit that, like, oh, I don't need this stuff. I'm not doing a crowdfunding campaign, or I'm not doing, I don't have a studio. And so you could go in and edit that and change the timeline a bit in there and work off of that.
that's amazing. Can you bring this to my life 5 years ago, Bree?
I know.
I would have killed for something like this. Oh gosh. Oh, okay. We got a question. Jenny
Cool.
says, I was originally planning my CD to come out this June, but it got delayed, for example, crowdfunding and stuff, by the lockdown, but probably looking at fall now. Will this course help where I am in the process?
For sure. It absolutely will, because I think that a lot of where people get tripped up is in the marketing and using singles to promote the full album. And that stuff only starts, 4 months out. So you're absolutely, so did you say you already had the recording?
It says, I was originally planning my CD to come out this June.
So she already has the recording. I mean,
Yeah, that sounds like.
otherwise that's not happening. Yeah. Oh yeah. You can still do all of this. Like, because I build in the whole recording part into the timeline and stuff. But if you've already got your recording, you could start this, at like the 4 or 5 month mark out from your release and get everything out of it.
Right, because yours has recording built into it. See, I love that, because that means that people can come in and you're kind of meeting them. You can meet them where they're at with the organization of this.
Yep.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Let me see here.
Yeah. You guys let us know if you're having any issues signing up, because I see some people, like, Teachable, you have to sign up for an account and then you have to pay. So sometimes people get stuck in I see people signing up for an account and, maybe stuck in the process. So let us know if you have any confusion about that.
Cool. And Jenny says, to answer the question, that the song is not finished yet. It's not mixed and mastered, but it sounds like it's recorded. So I think even building in time for a mix and master, you have plenty of time to prepare for a fall release. Absolutely. And also really smart to push that out, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's smart for most of us to push out a release, especially if you really wanted to do any live performing around it, which to me, that was a lot of the excitement of a release, is being able to do some live performing around it.
Absolutely.
But we, of course, now have live streaming. Like, that's become so standard now that you can do all your performing on live streaming if you want.
I know, that is just so cool. And I love that you're adding that as a bonus, because I know a lot of people are afraid to go live. I mean, it's like when you haven't done it before, it's nerve-wracking, right?
Yes, it totally is. Oh, I'm so excited. Megan just joined. I know Chris had sent me a message and saying, I'm going to tell Megan about this because she might need it.
Absolutely.
And Marie and Maria, it's so great to have you guys in here. Let us know in the chat if you guys are joining this program.
That's so awesome, Megan. I actually produced Megan's last single. And she's an incredible artist, and I had such a blast doing it. This is so exciting. Maria signed up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm just dying right now at all this information. I'm like, this is so valuable.
This is
checklist queen, like, I love
this is totally born out of messages that I got. I mean, I got a message. I remember I got a DM from somebody that they're like, I'm releasing my single my album in 2 days. What should I do? Like, literally, give me a marketing plan. I'm like, you know what? Like you should have asked me this 3 months ago.
Absolutely. I actually
it's hard for me to give you something to do right now when you're 2 days out.
Right. I had somebody ask me today about getting how can I get more blog write-ups and get on these Spotify playlists and on something that released a month ago. And I was like, I think she needs can I have this a year ago trick?
Yep. Oh, Deanne Matley. Awesome. So glad to see. I know I'll see a lot of these names I recognize, which is awesome.
Yay. And then, so one more time, this social media bonus is a 7-month with copy included strategy plan.
It is. Now, obviously, I don't know anything about your single or the story around it or your album, but I've got it started for you. So insert this here, but this is what you should be talking about right now based upon the timeline. This is what you should be talking about right now. You know, so it's again, like for me, I hate a blank page. So it's really helpful to just like, okay, I'm going to plug some things into here. And it also helps you be able to like get someone else. If you don't want to do all this social media stuff, you can give this to somebody else, like a VA, and be like, hey, here's the story around my singles. Can you plug this into, and here's some assets, here's some photos, here's some videos. Can you plug these into these social media and email templates?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, we got a question from Deanne. It says, I am really curious about the Spotify, as on Spotify itself, there is a specific video that says you can't pitch a playlist.
You cannot. So you cannot pitch an editorial playlist, which is the ones that Spotify put out. But you do get the opportunity to pitch them when you are going through the distribution process. So when you set up something as a single or an album, every time that you release something, you get the opportunity to put one item in front of them.
Right.
And that is part of, so you have to go through a distributor to do that. That's something that some people don't know. Like you cannot go directly to Spotify anymore. You have to, I'll shut that off. You have to go through a distributor, and then it opens a portal to you where you can submit your song. And Mike explains all of this in the course, how you can submit your song to Spotify editorial playlists. And man, if you get on one of those, you're so excited. Like you will get a ton of plays.
Right. But the key is you can't, it can't
go back.
Can't go backwards. This is,
I released my album today. I can't go tomorrow and submit this to them. My opportunity is gone.
Right. It's part of the process is submitting for this before it's actually released or during that process of distribution.
Yeah.
Cool.
So our timer went off. If any of you guys had an issue with being able to, like I said, if you had an old account and you had to find your password and all that stuff, just let us know. Like we're not mercenaries. I understand if that happens, and we'll be sure to give you the bonus. I'm going to turn on my video so I can see everybody.
Mary just joined. Mary Harrison.
Woo!
Woo! Oh, Ina says she is struggling. Ina, what are you struggling with? Is it the website or?
I understand. So I get messages from people all the time that are like, the button's not working, or, like,
we got you.
These things happen. Yes. So yeah, if you want to let us know what might be happening on your side, maybe I can help.
Teachable login.
Yeah. So if it says that it already knows your email address, you may have to request that you can reset your password. I unfortunately don't have access to anyone's teachable passwords. So you'll have to reset it, and then you can go ahead. So if that happened to you, just let us know. I'll make sure you get the bonus. And for those of you with the bonus, I will be adding that bonus to your account probably tomorrow. Since this product is so new, because we just created it recently, I need to still make sure that everything is all organized in there and stuff, but I will get that to you guys tomorrow. It will be in your account. So if you can't see it, like in Teachable, there's a tab at the top that says My Courses, and you should be able to click on that and you'll see Rock Your Next Release. And then when I add that one, you'll also see Profitable Live Streaming in there. But just let us know if you can't find it or whatever after tomorrow. How are we on questions? Do we have any more questions?
I don't have anything in the Q&A, and I think we're clear on questions.
Okay, cool. Let's see. So I answered this one. Oh, Spotify. Yeah. Okay. So I think we did answer that one. So just like one more minute, you guys, if any more questions come up, you could throw it in the chat now because it won't get lost because it's not so crazy in the chat anymore.
Brian says he has a question. What you got, Brian? Oh, I see Jason.
Let's see. What are you saying? You're still working on whether you're going to be an artist. You mean like you're trying to decide whether you're going to work more in the background or you want to like build a fan base?
Yeah, Jason Seal is actually somebody I've worked with. I've done a demo for him, and he says he's still working on whether he's going to do the artist thing. And you know, he's mainly a songwriter, so he's still
Ah,
figuring that out. Yeah,
I get that. I mean,
I know that feeling.
yeah.
And then it's just like, I'm just going to do it all. It's fine.
Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Brian, let's see. I'm a songwriter. Okay. What should I do in regards to releasing songs, shows, etc.? So you're not, when you say not the headliner, you mean other people are singing your songs? Because you can absolutely still release. I mean, on Women of Substance on our podcast, I play music that is by songwriters all the time that's sung by other people, and they're still releasing it because, you know, they love their songs, they have a story around the song, and you could still get it out there and promote it and market it even if you're not the artist. Especially if the artist wanted to get on board and help you, then you'd have like double promotion power,
Yeah.
right?
Jerry
Right.
says Jerry says he's interested, but he came in a little late. Is there a recorded version, a replay?
Yes, there will be a replay. It will come out tomorrow morning. So look for an email from me with the replay link and you can watch the whole thing.